And now the end is near. Almost. We are getting to the last few moments of the conference live from Split, Croatia, but we need to do some wrapping up. I know the Christmas is quite soon, but not wrapping up the presents. We have to wrap up our sessions and everything what we did throughout these few days. So we found a lovely lady which will start to do that for us all. Hello to all of you on Entrio Chat and Slido app for being every day with us and typing that you're feeling good and waiting for this plenary session wrap up for bye-bye. Magda De Carli is with us from the European Commission. She, as a part of Directorate General for Research and Innovation, is the perfect person to join us now before we say goodbye. Hi, Magda, nice to have you with us. It's your time now to shine and tell us a few nice words about what we did throughout these days.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because unfortunately I couldn't hear you. Now I hear you. Okay.
Ma come? Ma non lo posso credo. Shall I repeat it one more time? I just said that you are the perfect person to wrap things up at this session to tell us what we did good these 2 days ago, okay?
Frano, extremely nice of you. Thanks a lot. So I'm very, very pleased to be here in this role now to wrap up before anyway another plenary session that will be extremely important. As the head of unit of the unit that is in fact responsible for the part of the Horizon 2020 work program that is funding this conference and working very close together with the organizer that have been wonderful in organizing this conference. So I'm very happy that I have this role of taking stock of all the rich, extremely rich discussions that have been taking place during these actually 3 days and 2 really with the content. For me already, so we had 10 parallel sessions, 2 plenary sessions until now. There is one still to come. For what I know, there have been 705 for the moment, more than 700 registered people covering 50 countries. So already this has been to talk to such a big audience. This is extremely already a very good achievement. What is as well an achievement, and I think it has been the fil rouge of all this discussion and this event in particular, is that it's really based on putting different communities together and really to have this partnership approach between Commission, member states, regions. From our side, we have mobilized different services of the Commission, and you heard speakers from RTD, from DG Regio, Reform, Employment, JRC, SecGen talking about reforms. And from your side of the audience, we had academic representation and the speakers as well from the business sector and students as well. So this has been, this is why all the discussions that we have been listening during these 2 days has been extremely rich. It's difficult in 15 minutes that I have to be able to go through each and single parallel session to tell you the details of everything that was presented, because it's extremely rich, extremely interesting. But I can tell you that already there have been along the whole conference some key words, some key elements that have been appearing more than others, and really creating the the formal and informal ecosystem that are created, and also what are the best governance practices. So these were cross-cutting areas of discussion in all our parallel session, and at the same time we had also more focused thematic session focusing on tourism, for instance, blue ocean, and the circular economy, and also through the missions we were able to tackle 5 important thematic elements. And this is very interesting because if whether session or a thematic, there were some issues that can really express that we can get from this conf. For instance, one of the elements that appeared and was very often mentioned is that research and innovation, we have heard this morning as well again, is very key to overcome the pandemic and to ensure growth and reforms and well-being. So this is something that has been coming through the whole session very strongly. At the same time, exactly, it's research, is also innovation, is also processes. This we heard again this morning, but we heard in different sessions as well. And it is exactly a part of the governance and how, in fact, policy decisions are taken. And in this sense, the role of regions, of course, has been highlighted as very key in different instances. I said as well in the same session I was moderating that we are in a particular moment because it's a problematic moment, but we have a lot of tools that are at our disposal in order to overcome these problems. And indeed, in all sessions, we heard about different tools, either mobilized by the European Commission. We heard about the technical support instruments, funds like the recovery funds, but at the same time, we had also clear examples of what a region can mobilize in terms of an innovative way to mobilize tools. And what was important is that there is no one tool that solves all the problems. So again, a clear message almost in all session was that we need to move to use tools in a diversified way. We have a toolbox and all opportunities needs to be seized, and the tools need to be used, but in a complementary way, adding value to that. And for this, there are guidances, there is support available, and there are exactly innovative ways to approach it. So it's about reforms, it's about investments, it's about processes. As we say, it's about ecosystem. So tool for solving everything, but at the same time there is no one can do the things alone, so all the actors needs to work together. This multi-level governance has been mentioned several times, and the fact that there is a need of ecosystems where all actors, the quadruple helix, all actors work together and try to step up. You displayed a bit of messages, in fact, that we were taking from, especially from yesterday, because for today was a bit more difficult to get it. But we recognize most of this as well in today's session. It was very nice, this focus and specialize, and it came out quite nicely as well in the more thematic session. So there are niches, there are elements that makes a region special, can be heritage. We heard the tourism, blue ocean for specific regions, and there is an interest to focus and to specialize it. So this is a basis as well of the smart specialization that we heard a lot of time. But at the same time, this doesn't mean isolate, but really to work together with the others. Something else that came out very clearly is the link with the society. So in many key messages I received from the different rapporteurs, and already I thank them a lot for their very good work. The issue of the links with the citizen has been coming out quite strongly. We had it in the mission statements, where really we want to bring research and innovation towards the citizen, and at the same time time, we want as well to engage with them, and this is. It is something that comes out, this sense of community, this sense of bringing between the bridging between knowledge and society. You see here that in the keywords that were taken, it appears many times. Of course, it is the link with the people, but and the communicating. But of course, when you communicate, your message gets stronger when you have evidence, when you have data, when you can ensure a good monitoring of what you are doing and what are the impacts of what you are doing. So there again, it's something extremely important that has been highlighted, especially as well in the governance practices, that this is something that needs to be emphasized and used, and this is in all areas. So be innovative. So in the governance, of course, use all tools, do things in terms of evidence-based, takes a evidence-based decision, but at the same time, be also innovative in your thinking. And again, it was amazing how many examples during these 2 days have been brought about innovative thinking by regions on how to approach such a difficult moment, to become resilient, to use the different tools in the best way possible, combining them, enhancing the dialogue with the citizen. So I think really it would be very nice for those of you that have missed some of the session to go back, because they will be recorded. They are recorded, and I think you will understand the richness of the examples that were brought in. So for those regions that are participating to the event, definitely this will be a nice way to learn from each other. So I would say that these were for me some of the recurrent elements that were mentioned during the event. I probably have not gone through all of them, but and these are not the only one. We have been talking about exactly the skills as well, the talents and creativity, extremely important as a extremely important element to create a circulation of knowledge, attracting talents. So these are all measures as well that you will see also reflected, and this is another outcome that for me is very nice to see, that all these words that we are mentioning now are also part of the ERA communication that has been issued recently on the 30th of September. And it's nice that these elements are reflected in it. And at the same time, we have been putting a special emphasis on the role of regions. And I'm very happy to see that there is a lot that regions can contribute to, that there is a lot that regions can benefit as well from research, from innovation, and something that where exactly we need to develop tools that are really addressing the different problems and the different situation in a targeted way. So for me, these are the key elements that came up during these 2 days. Definitely, I've not covered everything, but for me, already the fact that a lot of so many different people with different background were able to come together and to discuss and provide their extremely good input on this extremely important and current and modern topics is already a very good sign of the importance of keep working together on this. And definitely for us at the Commission, these will be elements that help us now in the second phase, which is the implementation of the European research area. So there has been the communication, the design, there will be council conclusions, but the work continues, and what we want to do is to continue in collaboration with the regions and in collaboration with all the stakeholders that are actors, key actors in the regions, and can really benefit and contribute to make this ERA, European Research Area, a reality, benefits that helps also the recovery and the resilience. So I think I'm at the end of my time, and I really like to thank all of the speakers, the audience, and the moderator, of course, and the organizer, because for me this has been extremely useful and interesting and rich event. But I don't want to close it here because indeed there is a full plenary session now, and I leave it to that. But thanks from my side and congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Grazie mille, Magda. Thank you so much for all the help you
Prego.
supported so we could organize Wire 2020 in Split at this online way. Thanks for these 15 minutes of yours. Wrapping up is always hard to do because there is more than 50 great speakers. There was more than 700 participants, but it's always nice to see that this is going to roll some new ideas and all the knowledge in the future, and we are looking forward to the next Wire 2021 to see what's going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have more lovely people in front of you who have to be a part of this wrapping up closing ceremony. Now I would like to say hello to the Deputy Director General of Research and Innovation of the European Commission, Signe Razzo. Terve tulemast. I hope that you're hearing us and that you're ready for your 15 minutes. Hello.
Hello. I'm really happy to join you in this closing plenary session. Dear Mr. Sokol, Member of the European Parliament, dear Ms. Maja Feredotovic, Dean of the Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism, Split. So I'd really like to begin by thanking Ms. Maja Feredotovic and your researchers and officers for your organizational leadership at this conference. It has been an honor to work with you. And I would like also to thank Mr. Sokol for being here with us today, representing the European Parliament. It's really my great honor to be with all of you at this closing ceremony of the 11th edition of the Week for Innovative Regions in Europe, WIRE 2020. Over the past 11 years, we have been gathering on an annual basis to discuss the regional aspects of our European research and innovation systems. Over these years, we have always delivered thoughts and ideas that have influenced our way of approaching our regional ecosystems. And this year, it has not been different, even if we are really living at different times and also the format of the conference has been different. But what have we then achieved together during this edition of WIRE? Under the agenda of the Croatian EU Council presidency, WIRE 2020 conference has emphasized the role of resilient regions in the new European research area. These days, we really need to be resilient, all of us. WIRE 11 has provided a platform for thorough discussions on the challenges and possibilities of remote regions for contributing to the European recovery, including COVID-19 pandemic's consequences, with which we have to cope, all of us, but also regional innovation uptake and resilience. It has been discussed over these days how relevant is a well-designed and operational multi-level governance to succeed in achieving research and innovation targets, and in particular EU policies. We have also reflected on the relevance of the mission-oriented approach for nourishing our local innovation ecosystems, our traditions, our heritage. Evidence has shown that strengthening the links between research, innovation, and higher education can have direct impact in a balanced brain circulation. We have also echoed on the role of European universities and public research organizations for delivering in the twin transition and for translating the research and innovation results to the economy. Well, this is just to mention some of our multiple session discussions. Now, WIRE 2020 also calls on member states, regional and local authorities to first secure sufficient funding for research and education, to provide relevant skills supply to foster the economic recovery. Then it also calls on prioritizing the digital transitions as driver of regional development, including remote regions, which have really been the highlight. Also prepare projects that will drive the economic recovery through research and innovation after the COVID-19 pandemics as a precondition to restarting Europe's economy and also building its long-term resilience. To support the formal and informal entrepreneurial ecosystems by creating measures and opportunities that will lower the business administration and expenses. But we'd also like to build on the institutional capacity of remote regions and fair working conditions for researchers in order to achieve a balanced flow of highly skilled workers across Europe. We've also called upon you all to partner with European businesses, institutions, and to use European instruments to connect regional ecosystems in order to increase our global competitiveness. Now also the new era has been discussed for the European recovery. So let me just tell you what are the next steps. Clearly delivering on Europe's recovery while strengthening its resilience is now EU's top priority, while the climate and digital transitions are more important than ever. To tackle these complex challenges, the EU needs research and innovation of the highest quality and with the highest possible impact. Highest possible impact on its economy, but also on its society. And what I'd like to underline that no member state can do this alone. This is why excellent, impactful research and innovation requires cooperation. It requires joining of forces between the Commission, the member states, and all the stakeholders. And it is in this spirit of cooperation that the Bonn Declaration on Freedom of Research, Scientific Research has been adopted recently at the Ministerial Conference on ERA on the 20th of October. And this declaration commits governments to an EU system for monitoring academic freedom, and it aims to increase public trust in science, which clearly we need now more than ever. In the context of the renewed era, the Commission, in partnership with the Member States, will now develop a toolbox of actions. A toolbox of actions to maintain, but also to improve, the effective European talent pipeline, for which several obstacles are actually hampering the professional development of researchers. That's why you really need an effective toolbox. Now, what is now the next step? The next step is to kick off the new era and to reinforce the governance of ERA and to elaborate together a European Pact for Research and Innovation, which will be guided by the set of key values and principles. These key values and principles have been at the heart of ERA for the past 20 years. But how we envision it not to be a single non-binding, non-binding initiative, which will then constitute a renewed political commitment, and hopefully also through a more frequent and in-depth monitoring in order to ensure stronger implementation of existing ERA priorities, but also the new priorities. Now, the proposed ERA Forum for Transition will enhance collaboration between the Commission and Member States on targeting research and innovation investment on EU priorities, but also to promote synergies between the different funding instruments, both for research and innovation, but also RRF, as well as promoting reforms and coordinating research and innovation policies and actions which have all been identified under the communication. So from December onwards, we'll start rolling out the ERA agenda, including crew discussions on how to put in place the ERA Forum for Transition and how to co-create the pact. The communication is action-oriented. You've noticed that it proposes a roadmap of concrete 14 actions to be implemented in the years to come, but these need to be implemented in very close cooperation with member states, which will commensurate to the vision of the new era. The new era will also offer new opportunities for regions. It will reinforce strategic, coordinated support to regions and cities, and it will build on the successful knowledge exchange platform, which was launched in 2015, together with the Committee of the Regions and the Science Meets Region initiatives, together with the European Parliament. Now we are working to define the follow-up phase of the knowledge exchange platform, which we call KEP 2.0. And the KEP 2.0 will be fully aligned with and centered in the new area. I was also happy to discuss it during the week of the European regions. Now, this relaunched version aims at moving to a deepening of its strategic approach. It will be linked to ERA priorities, as said, but it will also broaden its scope. It will have more tools and more actors. Now, I'd like to highlight here that involvement of local and regional actors, as well as citizens, will be one of the success factors for all 5 EU missions. Citizen engagement will look different in different missions. For instance, for oceans, it can be related to creating an emotional connection with the oceans, while for cancer, it will definitely imply collecting patients' and families' perspectives. You had the opportunity to attend a missions cafe yesterday in order to learn more about these missions. Now, local and regional players can also make use of different instruments to reach the mission's measurable time-defined goals. And we are convinced that only these multi-leveled actions, local, regional, European, and even global, will enable the ecological, energy, digital transitions which are needed across Europe. And regions, municipalities, civil society associations will be pillars for reaching these common goals. Now, continuing with this strong partnership approach with member states and regions to further develop the ERA is of the utmost importance. Finding solutions to today's challenges requires a strengthened ambition, both at the EU and national levels, to work together to advance towards a true European research area. This year's WIRE has contributed to this ambition, to this ambitious but very necessary goal. So let's celebrate our achievements, but let's also commit to the work ahead of us. Thank you very much.
Aitäh, Signe. Thank you so much, especially for the DG for RNI to be a huge support in organizing this WIRE 2020. And I'm sure that all the participants will now rush back home and do something great for the regions, because that's something which we all have to do and we ought to do in the future. Hopefully we'll meet sometime in person. Split awaits you and all your friends and colleagues who would like to check how it looks like on the field. But I think that our dear Mr. has already been to Split, and it's my pleasure to now welcome our member of the European Parliament, Mr. Tomislav Sokol, in the language that is rather not heard quite much throughout these 3 days, with just a normal Croatian Dobar dan I dobrodošli.
Dobar dan. Hvala što ste me pozvali, ali mogu nastaviti i dalje i na engleskom. So thank you
It
very
should be like an official language start for this wrap-up session, so Mr. Sokol will be hearing you in English till the end of the presentation.
Okay, so again, thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much for organizing this event, which is especially important for me since I'm also a member of the Regional Development Committee of the European Parliament. So definitely, regional policy is something very close to my heart. But I was also Assistant Minister of Education and Science, in charge of science and research 3 years ago in Croatia. So the area of research and there is something also which is very important for me, since I also come from academia as well. As you all know, regional development policy is the success story of the European Union. So definitely, if you look at the differences in terms of economic development among different regions of the EU, when we compare Central and Eastern Europe, for instance, with Western Europe, we can see that convergence, so the reduction of these differences, has really taken place since these countries joined the European Union in 2004 and 2007, and Croatia, of course, in 2013. So definitely, European regional development policy has achieved a lot, but still big differences remain in terms of basic infrastructure, access to healthcare, digital infrastructure, and all of these things without which we cannot imagine modern lives in the 21st century. So definitely there are big differences that still exist in the European Union in terms of regional development, but also we have new challenges that have arisen in the last couple of years, and the most important of these is obviously the COVID-19 pandemic. And this obviously has created a lot of problems, but I believe also a lot of opportunities to start a new paradigm of development, of new type of development, new type of investment in the European Union, and I think this is definitely a big chance for all of us to go forward with big steps. What is important in this context, obviously, is research and education. This is something that is extremely important in today's European Union. But I have to emphasize now that, as you probably all know, that research and innovation and education is the primary national competence. So member states of the EU are primarily responsible for organization and the regulation of their research and innovation systems. What European Union cannot do, it cannot impose certain regulatory standards that would be the same across the EU. So we have different policies in different member states, in different regions, different types of funding, and all of these things definitely will remain. This diversity in the European Union will remain in the future. So what is the most important tool, an instrument that the European Union has at its disposal to actually influence national policies and regional policies? That is its European Union budget. And we know that we are currently in the process of negotiation of the next 7-year budget, which will be bigger than ever. So because in addition to the normal, regular 7-year budget of the EU, we also have the recovery and resilience instrument, which was established as a necessary answer to the COVID-19 pandemic. And when we bring all of this in total, this will be more than 1,800 billion euros for the next 7 years. So this is an extreme amount of money. So the European Union has never had this amount of resources at its disposal to actually influence situation in member states and different regions, and this is something which is definitely very important. However, the two most important priorities, as you probably know, in the future will be the Green Deal and digital transformation. I believe that a lot of speakers have already talked about this, and this is very important. But what is also important is that we do not neglect the traditional European Union policies, which are crucial for bringing this converged development in different parts of the EU, and one of these policies is the cohesion policy. You know that cohesion policy is, as I already mentioned, is crucial for regional development, for reducing differences in terms of regional development across the EU. And of course, this policy, which has had this tremendous success in the last decades, should remain at a very high level. And this is something that I'm also fighting for in the European Parliament. But also when we speak of Green Deal and digital transformation, these new so-called policies, they are very important because they bring new paradigms in terms of possibilities to invest in terms of economic development and growth. However, what is important is that we have to admit that there will also be losers in this process. So there will be people who will have hard time, like the small and medium-sized enterprises, small medium-sized agricultural enterprises, especially who will not, for whom it will not be easy to transform in this digital way and to adhere to all of these new environmental and other standards that will be imposed by the European Union. And this is the reason why why I'm also advocating in the European Parliament this policy of no one left behind. So European Union has a responsibility to take care of these people, to take care of all of these people who will have to endure additional costs of transferring to this new paradigm of green transformation. And European Union will have to help these people, especially the economy. And I think this is very important. The European Union budget will definitely have to serve its purpose in there, because only in that way can we really make a difference and can we expect to have a feasible economic growth in the years to come. When we speak of research and innovation in terms of and connection with regional development policy, we know that Horizon 2020 and the new Horizon, obviously after 2020, is the traditional most important budgetary instrument that the EU has at its disposal to finance and stimulate investments into research and innovation. But of course, in this sense, unfortunately, we've had different positions from different European Union institutions in terms of how much money we will spend on the next Horizon. And we know that European Parliament is the institution which is most ambitious in that sense. You know that the Horizon budget in the last 7 years was around 77 billion euros, and the Parliament's proposal for the next 7 years was to increase it to 120 billion euros. The Commission's proposal was somewhere in between. It was around 94 billion euros, and then the Council's last proposal, which was around 80 billion euros, was definitely not as ambitious as we hoped for. So definitely, I believe that we need a strong Horizon budget, that we need strong resources if we want to put our money where our mouth is, let's say. And I believe that Council, especially some member states who are skeptical about investments in the new Horizon and in general investments on EU level, will be flexible enough so that we can really have a good budget for research and innovation for the next 7 years on the EU level. But what is very important when we connect research and innovation and regions, especially different regions of the European Union, is the fact that you know that for Horizon projects, you have in most cases, when you have tenders, everybody can apply. And of course, when everybody can apply for a tender, those who have the biggest resources, who have the biggest number of top quality scientists, are in an advantage when compared to universities and research institutions for less developed parts from the European Union. And of course, we know, and I agree that excellence should remain as the most important principle, which is the basis of the Horizon funding. But we should definitely also think of widening participation and enabling also institutions from less developed parts of the EU to join the research collaborations so that they can apply for projects, to create incentives for them to apply for projects, because without this, definitely there will be no chance of having more equality in terms of regional development across the EU. And of course, what was also already mentioned, which is very important, are synergies between different types of EU funding. And most important synergies are between Horizon on one side, which has its own set of rules, and cohesion policy, European Union cohesion policy funds. We have a completely different set of rules on their side. And these different rules are in many cases big problems if we want to have this combination of instruments to finance different parts of research activities. For instance, you can get a project from Horizon where you get top scientists from across Europe to collaborate to work on a project, but then you need cohesion policy funding to stimulate it, to get necessary infrastructure, the equipment that they should work on. So definitely these two most important instruments need to converge. The rules need to become more simpler, and especially this relates to cohesion policy, where rules are very, very complicated in many instances, and much more complicated when compared to the Horizon rules, rules necessary to apply for Horizon projects, and especially the application of state aid rules, which creates problems in many instances, especially for scientists, for researchers who want to apply for cohesion policy projects as well. So these complicated rules definitely need to be simplified, and I believe that the new rules on EU funding are going in that direction. But I believe that is very definitely important, because if we cannot get all of the less developed regions to take part in the European research and innovation projects, then we cannot really speak about convergence, and we cannot speak about regions in this in more innovative and more developed regions in this way. When you speak of regions and innovation in this sense, what is important is that we change the paradigm. And I'm glad that I'm one of the vice chairs of the intergroup of European Parliament on smart villages. I believe this smart villages is a very good idea. I think it was already mentioned by some of the speakers, because it changes the whole paradigm in terms of how we look at rural areas. You know that rural areas are usually least developed parts of the European Union, with biggest demographic problems, outflow of people, emigration to other parts of the EU, etc. And these are big problems. Traditionally, these problems have been alleviated to some extent by investments into agriculture, into traditional forms of economy in rural areas. But I believe this has to be changed. I believe that investments into smart solutions, into digital transformation of rural areas, into e-health, which, for instance, which is very important, digital solutions in the area of healthcare, which can make it much easier for people from rural areas to access healthcare. I think this is something that is definitely very important, and that we have to change the paradigm and think of development of rural areas in more modern, in more innovative ways than just focusing on the traditional agriculture. And this smart villages idea is very important. Our intergroup in the Parliament is already working with the European Commission, especially with Vice President Dubravka Šuica, and I believe that one of our main projects is to have several kind of pilot projects, smart villages in the European Union, to show how this idea of introducing innovative digital solutions into the rural areas can also have a big influence at how it can work in practice and increase the living standards in these least developed parts of the European Union. And one additional thing that I would just like to mention when we speak of entrepreneurship and innovation and in the ecosystem in terms of starting new businesses, etc., is that something that we often neglect, and that is that internal market is the basis of the European integration, and it has been like this from the start: free movement of goods, services, people, and capital. Unfortunately, still big parts of the internal market have not been realized. There are still many regulatory obstacles on especially national level for the internal market, but also EU level. And I think that we should definitely also start looking at how to reduce this administrative and regulatory burden to become more competitive on global stage as well. Because if you compare Europe on one side and the US on the other, you can see that it's much easier to start a business and develop a business to become much bigger and much stronger in the US when compared to the European Union, and these companies in the area of digital solutions that European Union is definitely lagging behind. So we need definitely less regulation, less paperwork, less red tape, and more freedom for entrepreneurs to work. So to sum up, definitely this conference has been very good. I think it's very important to connect all of these different parts of EU policies together: regional policy, education policy, research policy. But what is also important is that also research institutions like universities are also a big part of this. And I believe that this cooperation between universities on one side and companies and regional bodies and political and administrative bodies of member states of the European Union and of regions and local authorities is something that we definitely need in the future. And this strong cooperation is something that is, I believe, the future of the European Union. And only if we all work together can we make a difference, and can we have real sustainable growth in the years to come. And I can tell you that we in the Parliament will continue to be as ambitious as before to push for more EU funding, for especially more funding in the areas which are crucial for EU development, like research and innovation, like cohesion. And you can count on us that you'll have a big backer in the European Parliament for all the initiatives like this in the years to come. So thank you very much again, and I thank you for inviting me and for organizing this great conference in the beautiful city of Split. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sokol, for being with us. I really like the idea of smart villages. We have some parts of Croatia in which we can use that, so I hold your word that you will be helping us throughout the years to come. Thank you for being with us. So we are not over yet with this wrapping up online bye-bye ceremony. There is one lady who was with us from the first day, so it is also nice to have her here as the last speaker of the Wire 2020 from Split. Maja Fredovtovic, our host, the Dean of the Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism. Maja, nice to see you again. It's time for you
Likewise.
to say goodbye.
Okay, thank you very much. So, being here from the day one and an informal, formal opening, listening to you all these 3 days, and especially listening to our speakers at this wrapping up session, I will take an opportunity to say just one more sentence. Let it put it this way. We are not at the beginning of some new era, not only regarding the research innovation, not only regarding pandemics. I think we are, as a European Union as a whole, at the edge of some new era regarding changes in society. And I'm really appreciated all the speakers before me, because it gives me the hope and the certainty that all the changes and all the efforts, actions and other things that are going to happen in the period to come will result in the changes in society. In terms that we will use our knowledge, our wisdom, our heritage, our unity to master the technology and to put it in the use of humanity. So that would be my wrapping up and my hopes for the future, and not, I hope, not so far future, but a future to come in a year or two. At the end, let me first of all thank all those who participated at this wonderful conference, our keynotes, our speakers, our moderators, rapporteurs, and more than 700 participants all over Europe and the world who were with us, who communicated, networked, exchanged experiences, exchanged good practices, and who puts all these valuable questions on the floor. Now at the end, a special thanks to European Commission, DG Innovation and Research, because, as I said on the first day, they challenged us. This WIRE conference was a great, great challenge, and I would like to think and to believe that we mastered altogether this challenge. And for that, as I said, special thanks to DG, who made our life hard. Their demands were very high, but I hope that we successfully mastered all the challenges. And then also great thanks to our Ministry of Education and Science, who stood behind us all the time and who cooperated with us and the DG. And a special thanks to our local community, to our city of Split and the county of Split, Dalmatia. But of course, the thanks has to go also to one of the stars of this conference, our master of ceremony, master of dance, master of cuisine, who introduced you to all the sense, beauties, heritage, and everything of Split and Dalmatia. And I hope you all enjoyed Crème Brûlée Dalmatian Way and the special WIRE 11th edition, and all other things that we tried to bring near to you. And then I would like to thank all the team here in this beautiful, they call it stage, but I think this is something like space shuttle, that were working with us very hard this last a week or so, and that make this beautiful scene and all the environment possible. And then at the end, but not at least, but not the least, I would like to thank especially to the organizing team of the Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism in Split, chaired by Professor Vinko Muštra and Professor Pavić, for all the efforts they did during the last year or so to make this conference possible and, as we said, already successful. So people, thank you all. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your contributions. And I hope, really hope, to see you on another edition of our and to meet you in person. And of course, looking forward to all the results of all the conclusions and promises said and listened to here today. So, bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Professor Veletovic, for everything, especially for being with us all the days and organizing a great team which was responsible for everything you've seen and heard throughout the days. Wire 2020 from Split is over. We hope that you had a great time with us, that you learned something, and that you will be cherishing and sharing all the knowledge we gave to you. And we are looking forward to meet you in person when the things will be back normal again. Thank you for your visit. If you have any other questions that you would ask or you need a little more knowledge, of course, every presentation will be available for you and you can consume it and take it to your home and to your surroundings. As we say in this part of Croatia, we just wrap it up like this. Zdravi I veseli bili. Be healthy and cheerful. Grazie mille, arrivederci. Merci beaucoup, au revoir, vielen Dank und auf Wiedersehen. Muchas gracias, nos vemos. Ladies and gentlemen, till some next visit, thank you and have a lovely rest of the day and of your life. Bye-bye from Split. Julie.